All right, let's get right into it. We're going to explore a scientific theory that might just change how you see, well, everything. It starts with a concept we all know, evolution, but it leads to a conclusion that is just radical. The idea that the world you see isn't the real world at all, but more like a user interface.
So where does this wild idea even come from? It's rooted in the incredible work of cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman. And his research kicks off with a claim that basically flips everything we think we know on its head. That the world we perceive with our senses, it's not the real deal.
He argues that for millions of years, natural selection has been actively hiding the truth from us. But this isn't some kind of cosmic prank. No, it's for a very simple reason: survival. Turns out, seeing the complete unvarnished truth isn't just unnecessary for survival, it's actually a major disadvantage.
Now, to really get this, there's a perfect analogy. Your perception of the world works just like the desktop on your computer. You see that simple blue folder icon for your photos. But what's the reality? The reality is a dizzying, chaotic storm of binary code and electrical voltages deep inside the machine.
And here's the kicker. That icon isn't the file. Of course not. It's just a simple, useful shortcut that hides all that crazy complexity. Well, the same exact principle applies to our reality. A snake, a cliff, an apple. Hoffman argues these are all just icons. They aren't reality itself. They're just simplified graphics designed to help us navigate the world without getting totally overwhelmed.
Okay, so this is where we get to the real scientific meat of the argument. To prove this wasn't just some wacky philosophical thought experiment, the theory was put to the test using the hard math of evolutionary game theory. The goal was simple: find out what natural selection really cares about.
So he modeled it. He created these little digital organisms inside computer simulations. Some of them were programmed to see reality as accurately as possible, and the others, they were programmed to completely ignore reality and only see stuff relevant to their survival, what he calls fitness. And then he just let them compete.
And the results? After running thousands of these simulations, the conclusion was, well, it was a total knockout. The organisms that saw the simplified fitness-based interface, the shortcuts, they always, and I mean always, outcompeted the ones that saw the complex truth. They literally drove them to extinction. Seeing reality is a liability.
And if you think this is just theory, check out this incredible and kind of sad real-world example. The Australian jewel beetle evolved a really simple shortcut for finding a mate. Its icon for mate was basically brown, dimpled, and shiny. And that worked perfectly for thousands of years, until humans came along and left beer bottles lying around, which just happened to be even more brown, dimpled, and shiny than the actual female beetles. The interface glitched, and the beetles nearly went extinct trying to mate with bottles.
That beetle's big mistake? That's actually the key to understanding all of this, because it shows what we're all perceiving all the time. We don't see objects, we see fitness payoffs. When you look at a glass of water, you're not seeing trillions of H2O molecules, you're perceiving a thirst-quenching icon. Its properties, that it's cool, it's clear, it's wet, those are just features of your interface telling you its value for your survival.
But hold on, because the theory goes even deeper than that. It suggests that space and time themselves, the very fabric of our universe as we know it, they aren't fundamental reality either. They're just the 3D desktop, the operating system our interface uses to arrange all the other icons we see. And this, of course, leads us to the biggest, most profound question you can possibly ask. If this entire physical world, from the tiniest atom to the biggest galaxy, is just a bunch of icons on a screen, what is the computer? What's on the other side of the interface?
Well, the proposal is this. The fundamental building blocks of reality aren't particles or strings. They're what Hoffman calls conscious agents. Now, this is a total 180 from how we normally think about things. It's not that matter creates consciousness. It's that a whole network of conscious agents interacting with each other creates the appearance of matter. That's our user interface.
And this insight just completely flips the hard problem of consciousness on its head. For centuries, we've been trying to figure out how a physical thing like a brain can create a non-physical experience like, tasting chocolate. But this theory says we've had it backward the whole time. The brain isn't what creates consciousness. The brain is just the icon for a conscious agent. It's how consciousness looks from within the interface.
And this is the moment, right here, where this hard science slams right into simulation theory.
I mean, look at this. When you compare the concepts side by side, you realize they're talking about the exact same system, just with different words. The conscious agents are the players. The perceptual interface is the rendering engine. It's basically a Rosetta Stone for two different ways of describing the same idea.
So what this work really does is give us the scientific reason for why a simulation would be built this way. The reason we see this simplified fiction is because it's computationally cheap, it's efficient. Just like in a video game, trying to render the full underlying true reality would be an insane waste of processing power. So the simulation is optimized for performance, not for truth.
You know that classic philosophical riddle, if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, this framework gives us a surprisingly modern, almost tech support style answer.
The answer in this model is a hard no. When nobody's looking, the tree isn't even rendered as a tree. Why would it be? The simulation isn't going to waste the resources rendering something that's not being observed. It just exists as potential information, as data. It's only when a conscious agent, you, turns to look at it that the interface renders the tree icon on demand.
And maybe the most mind-bending part of all this is how it totally reframes what death is. If your physical body is just an avatar, just an icon in the interface, then when it gets destroyed, that's not the end of you. It's character death, not player death. The conscious agent, the real you, simply logs out of this particular game.
So, okay, what does all this mean? Does anything matter if it's all just a game? Absolutely. This theory doesn't erase meaning, it just reframes it in a pretty profound way. Morality still matters because your actions have real consequences for the other conscious agents behind the avatars. Your pain is still very, very real because your subjective experience is what's fundamental. And it suggests that science, as amazing as it is, has been an incredible tool for mapping the rules of the interface, the game, but not for studying what lies beyond the screen.
And so we are left with the one, final, ultimate question. The one that this entire scientific framework doesn't just make possible, but almost necessary to ask. If we are all players in some grand simulated game that's been optimized for our survival, who built the game?